Hey guys, I'm back. I just thought I would do a quick tutorial to show the difference in how to make these fabric baskets with the fusible fleece. I had a couple people comment that they would like to see how to do that. So the size I'm going to make today with the fusible fleece is going to be the large. So this is cutting a 12 by 12 inch square of both exterior and interior fabrics. So to make it, you'll need 2 squares 12 by 12 of the exterior fabric, 2 squares of the interior fabric, 2 squares of Pellon fusible fleece. It's I use 987F. And it's a fusible fleece, and it's got the little glue bubbles on the back, just like the interfacing does, except for it's more of a fleece, so it's thicker. And then we're going to also use 2 pieces of 931 TD, which is the fusible midweight. So I'm going to put the fusible fleece on the exterior fabric, and then I'm going to put the 931 TD, just the interfacing, on the back of the lining. And it really doesn't matter which way you do this, but you'll want to use the fusible fleece on one set of fabrics, and then you'll want to use the other one on the other set of fabrics. So let's take you over and let's iron those on. So before I put fusible fleece on, I like to heat up my fabric that it's going to go on. I have both the exterior panels here. So you just lay it on top of your fabric. I'm going to flip this over before I iron. Make sure you don't touch your iron plate to the fusible fleece. It will stick. Just go lightly and gently because you don't want to distort your fabric shape. And I can see it's still not on quite all the way, so just keep pressing it on. I have my iron at high heat. I always use high heat unless the fabric is delicate. Hey guys, voiceover Melissa here. Apparently my camera got all messed up every time I put my iron down, so I'll try to just give you an idea of what I'm doing and sort of cut some of it out so that it doesn't look, it's totally cut off. So apologies, I need to tighten my camera mount next time. And to this, I'm going to iron on the 931 TD, the interfacing, not the fleece. I think if you put fleece on all 4 pieces, it would just be too stiff. I should try it sometime. Interfacing for me irons on a lot quicker than the fleece. Okay, so now we have all of our interfacing and fusible fleece ironed onto the back of our squares. Okay, so this is a large bag. This square is 12 inches by 12 inches. We're going to cut a 2.5 inch square out of both bottom corners. So I've just lined up the 2.5 and a 2.5 on my ruler. I am not using a fabric marker since it will be cut off. So over here we're going to also do 2.5 by 2.5. So since I had the fleece on the back of here, I cut just one piece at a time, and I cut on the right side versus trying to draw my mark on the back of the polar fleece or the fusible fleece. And now I'm just going to take this one and line it up. I'll go ahead and do right sides together because that won't hurt anything. Right sides together, line up all my seams and sides. I'll even give it a little pin right here, and it's a little bit different when you're working with the polar or the fusible fleece. I like to pin it when I work with this stuff. Okay, so we're just going to cut our square out. So our exterior is ready. All right, so with right sides together, again, I'm going to go ahead and mark 2.5 inches on the lining. I'll go ahead and pin it since it's a bigger bag. All right, now we have our exterior and interior of our bags all ready to take to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're gonna make this bag. Let me set the interior piece aside. We are gonna make this bag just like we made the other bag. The only difference is that we have fusible fleece ironed on to this. So we're gonna go ahead and stitch our bottom seam closed with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. My machine is a Baby Lock Jane. It's just a straight stitch machine. It's a heavy duty machine. And I have my thread length at 3. So I'm going to start and stop, lock my stitch, on both ends. And I guess I will still have to take these off anyway for this next step. I'm going to open it up and I will finger press it. And I'm going to open this up, and then again I'm going to do an 1/8 inch seam allowance on both sides of this seam I just put in. And you do not need to lock this seam in. You do not need to lock in what we're doing right now. Okay. There, now it's going to lay nice and flat. We'll go ahead and line up our side seams again. And like I mentioned before, make sure when you stitch your side seams on both the exterior and the interior, that you keep your seam line straight so that your circumference of both bags, when you put them together, have the same circumference. That's very important. Now I have a tag, and I'm gonna contact the lady I use on Etsy, and I'm gonna share some information with you guys on how I make my tags and see if that will help you guys out. So with a 1/4 inch seam allowance again, locking my top and bottom, going slow so that I don't lose my line. I want to keep it as straight and even as possible. And then we're going to switch it and do the next edge, the next side of the exterior. All right, trim my extra threads. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and match out our corner. Now, since this is fleece, it's a little bit harder to hold the seam open. I mean, it's not terrible, but so I'm gonna go ahead and put a clip on there, and I'm gonna go ahead and clip this one while I'm at it. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin this one, and then I will stitch them. I like to do my pinning and stitching usually together. Sometimes I do it not together. You know, do whatever works for you. I know this might be a little bit different, but okay, so we're gonna stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance over this raw edge, locking it on both ends. Okay, there's one. There's two. So the exterior is all good to go. So let's go ahead and turn it right side out in preparation for putting it in the interior when that part is done. Hey guys, voiceover Melissa. If you're learning something and liking this video, I would sure appreciate if you could hit the like button. If you don't want to, that's okay. All right, we're about halfway through. Thanks. All right, so the exterior is done. We're gonna set that aside. And we're gonna do the same steps to the interior. The bottom stitch is done. We will finger press it open and do an 1/8 inch seam down both sides. All right, so we're gonna do an 1/8 inch seam on both sides of that stitch we just put in. Okay, so that one looks nice as well. We're gonna match right sides together and line up the side seams. And we're gonna do, again, 1/4 inch seam allowance, locking at the top and bottom. to open this up and line up our bottom corners. And we're going to press open the side seam, and we're going to match it up with the bottom seam. And we're going to go ahead and clip these open at the same time. Okay, match it up with the bottom and the side. All right, so here we go. We're gonna stitch these raw edges shut with another 1/4 inch seam allowance. There we go. So we are going to take our exterior turned right side out and our interior turned right side in, and we're going to place the exterior into the interior, the exterior into the interior. Yeah. Okay. I'm pushing my corners together from both pouches and lining them up to shake them down. I start by clipping my side seams together first. There we go. I kind of pull it tight and you can see that the circumferences are the same size. Now we want to make sure to leave at least a 2-inch opening. I'm going to make more of a 3-inch opening, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it so that I know when to start and stop. Okay, so I'm going to start right at one pin, and I'm going to sew all the way around to the other pin with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just go slow so you don't sew over the other part of the bag while you're doing this. It's not hard, it's just gonna take your time. So let's lock that in really well so that when we pull it through, we don't accidentally rip the seam. We're approaching the last pin, so I'm going to get to it and then lock it on. Okay, there we go. That's almost complete. So here's our opening, our 2 to 3 inch opening. We're going to slowly start pulling the exterior fabric through that hole. Then we'll pull the interior through. And sometimes you just have to kind of push it. You just want to be gentle, you don't want to tear your seam. So technically it's all through now. Just gonna give it a good press out here so you can kind of see what it looks like. So now they're fully attached in the middle with our opening. Okay, now we're just gonna place the lining down into the exterior and just work it around and get all the corners lined up again. And then around the top, I like to roll that down so that I can get that seam that I just put in there as close to the top as I can. And I will take this to the iron and I'm just gonna press down. I'm just gonna iron flat that seam. Okay, so it's all pressed. Here's our opening. Since you have the fleece on here, it's gonna automatically want to pop back open. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin this a couple times. Okay, and like I said, it's a thicker edge. So now we're going to take it to the machine. We're going to do our first stitch is going to be a 1/8 stitch, 1/8 seam allowance so you get it right up to the top, and then I'm going to do another one probably at about 1/4 of an inch down. And I'm going to sew from the inside out. And I'm going to start right where my opening is. And I am going to lock it. I always lock it. So I got the initial stitching done. So the hole is closed. Now I'm gonna do one more. Let's see what it ends up being, how far down I'm gonna do this one down about a 3/8 from the top. And I'm gonna lock it again. All right, that is it. If you want to press this out more, if you've got some little wrinkles in there, you sure can. I'm gonna fold it down about 1 inch or a little bit more maybe since it's such a big bag. So there is our more rigid fabric basket. And the bottom is nice. You can use this for so many things. This is the large size. The large ends up being 5.5 by 5 by 7 tall when you have it cuffed down. If you open it up, it's closer to 8 inches tall. So here's the large, same as this large here. Here's the medium. And here's the small. Here's the one I made in the other video, and this does not have the fusible fleece in it. These are all fusible fleece. They're fun. Like I said, you can stack them all in each other. Alright, well, if there's anything I left out or forgot to offer you as information, please leave a comment below, or let me know what you think, if you think you like it with the fusible fleece, or if you think you're going to make them out of just the interfacing. Either way, they are great. Handy, fun. Yeah. Alright guys, thanks for joining me again. Have a nice night.